Right, this is a short video just explaining about my new camera for the PVS 14 that I've got. So anyway, yeah, it's created from a 3D print that was, I guess you could say, invented by a guy called Night Dog, spelt D-A-W-G, and that is on where is it? Thingiverse, is it, or something? One of the places where you get the 3D prints. Anyway, yeah, I'll link it. I'll link it in the description anyway. But anyway, it fits the MateCam X7 PCB. So if you wanted to make your own, you basically it basically prints out in like 3 or 4 different pieces. So you've basically got like your ring. This bit here that fits over your locking ring, or sort of next to your diopter sort of thing, the other way obviously. But anyway, yeah, so there's 2 halves to this, and then this side you've got like your HDMI out, your micro USB, and then you've got your memory card up here basically, and then on the other side you've got a single button. So that this one doesn't use the Wi-Fi add-on, the aerial plus the add-on that clips onto the PCB, the MateCam X7 PCB. It also has this hole, which is for an add-on battery. Like you can, but I'm basically using USB, like a power pack, on the back of my helmet. Under my counterweight to power it. I mean, the only thing I don't like is that the tail that comes from the camera is visible. I mean, it would have been better if somehow those 2 pieces here where it could slot over and protect it. But apart from that, it basically sits in this bit here. I don't know if it'll focus correctly. But basically, yeah, it sits in there and sort of clips in. But it's designed for the 70-degree camera with the tail, and then basically the other end where it slots into the PCB is on this end. So basically, you fold in the tail back upon itself, and then it comes out here. Now this part is one part. So this part here that comes around. Basically you got the 2 halves and then the button, and the button is just for like a power button. You don't have access to the shutter button on the PCB, nor the Wi-Fi button either, so it's just the power on and off. But if you go into the file that's written on the memory card, the text file for MateCam, you can basically tell it to or enable it to, when it switches on, when it powers on, it automatically records. And then if you want to stop recording, just quickly press it once. If you want to start recording, quickly press it once again. And obviously if you want to turn it off, then you hold it, and then after about 3 seconds it powers off. So basically you've got the 2 halves, this one clips on top of the other one, and then I'm using these little bolts and nuts to hold it all together. And then this bit here is one piece, and then you need a nut and bolt for this side, and then this bit clips out. When these 2 halves are together, this bit sort of fits in there, but it did need a little bit of filing, that it wasn't quite perfect and it wouldn't sort of slot over. And then the bolts fit through here. There's 2 holes on either side, and then basically those bolts then fit down through the whole thing on either side, and then there's 2 nuts at the bottom. I ordered bolts that were too long, but I basically ended up hacksawing them off, but and then filing them off. But I mean, it's good enough, and it works. So basically, in order to fit it over this, ideally you need the FW Solutions. I think it's the A14 J arm, which I'm trying to source, but everybody's sold out at the moment. So that is the FW Solutions J arm you need, and then basically this J-arm, sadly, when you put the camera through it with this, the camera sits at an angle. So normally with the other J-arm, I think your PVS 14 would sit like that, and then your J-arm would come that way and then sit onto your dovetail with this at the top. So then when you put your camera on, obviously it would be right at the bottom. But because of this J-arm, this is basically a Sotac J-arm that I pretty much bought from Temu. I paid £10.50 and it works well enough, but because I'm using this, the camera now sits, once I get it on, the camera now sits at an angle, so when I'm wearing it, it's basically like that, which is a bit of a pain, but you know, it works, and I'm trying to source the other J-arm, but until I do, I'll have to use this. And then once it's on, pretty much just make sure it's nice and square, and then I can tighten it down. So I'll just try and move the camera around as much as I can, just so it sits right. It's actually, the bolt's actually on the other way. So once it's nice and straight on that, basically just tighten that down. Tighten it too tight, I don't want to snap anything, but that's pretty much it. It's nice and tight on there, and then when it sits on the J-arm, the J-arm is up here. The only downside is the switch is now under there, so it is a little bit fiddly. I have to sort of play with it a little bit in order to get access to that, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. But you know, I can do it, and the light as well sort of shines down onto there. So normally the light would be sort of underneath here, and the camera would be like that. So the camera would be there, and then the light would be there. You'd just be able to sort of look down here and see the light, so you know that it's flat. Well, when it's flashing, you know it's recording. But because it's like that, yeah, it's sort of a bit fiddly. But yeah, it's working. All I have to do is now record it. If I record it like that, I just have to rotate the video when I edit it. But yeah, it works okay. It's good enough. And my mate printed out this one and two other designs, and he only charged me 25 quid. So I mean, you could probably make this. I mean, he told me how much it would cost him in the product alone, PLA or whatever it was. I think it came to about £3 or something. So you could basically make that print. I mean, the files are free. Night Dog doesn't charge for this. So you know, I mean, that is pretty cool. So if you get yourself a Matecam X7 PCB, the 70-degree camera with, I think it's like a 10cm tail on it, and then basically just print that out, put the bare PCB in it, not with a metal case or nothing like that, and then it basically just fits on there. Power it off a USB power pack, or you can power it off the power pack that he's recommended you use. I think he uses an FPV, I think it's like an FPV power pack or something like that. So basically this is the power pack I use. It's an Energizer, and basically it's an 18650 battery inside of here. Now this lasts between 2 and 4 hours, I mean, depending on the temperature as well. You know, generally when it's colder they'll last me about 2 hours. So I bought two of these from eBay. I think they're about £8 each, and that slots into like a little holder that I've made on the back of my helmet. And it's pretty light. I mean, it only contains an 18650, so that's pretty much my camera on the PVS 7. So I mean, all in all, I paid what, £95 for the Matecam originally. It's not perfect, but it does, you know, I mean, I think I broke the shutter button on it when I dropped it once, but you know, with my old housing, or older housing actually, because it was the dipole D128, I think, when I dropped it, and the older housing now is the Cobra Optics, which I'm selling. So anyway, yeah, I think I paid what, £25 for 3 prints, plus 9. So yeah, 120 quid to make this PVS 14 camera, and I mean, compared to like the Grec X, which is like what, 1080p at 60 frames a second, this does that, plus it'll do 1080p at 120 frames a second, and it'll do 4K at 30 frames a second. So pretty much better for 120 quid too. So there you go.